provides a comprehensive approach for a pest-free environment for both residential and commercial clients. Our services include lawn spraying and fungus control services to ensure the safety of your family and pets, commercial pest and rodent control, pre-construction soil treatment, subterranean termite control, and tent fumigation. Call Glen Barrows International Pest Control at 465-2935 or 469-5294. Glen Barrows International Pest Control, setting new standards in pest control.
Yo, KyssFM,
with news from across the Federation, spanning the region and covering the globe. This is the KyssFM SKN News Now Morning Edition, your one true source for news. And now your presenter.
Good morning. Today is Wednesday, 1st March 2017. I'm Leslie Joseph. This is the SKN News Now Morning Edition, brought to you with the kind compliments of Glen Barrows Pest Control and Guest House. These are the top stories this hour. Nationally, former National Security Minister, Right Honorable Dr. Denzel Douglas, says police crime statistics paint a poor picture of the performance of the government and police. Regionally, former Barbados Prime Minister Owen Arthur confirms that he has been approached to serve as the government's chief economic advisor. Internationally, Donald Trump is seeking to rebound from the chaotic start of his presidency. And in sport, Africa's youth footballers are showing promise at the Under-20 Africa Cup of Nations, and a decision will soon be made as to whether the Pakistan Super League final can be held in Lahore. Now for a look at the stories in detail. Former Prime Minister, the Right Honorable Dr. Denzel Douglas, says that the recently released 2016 crime statistics clearly indicate that the efforts of the Royal St. Christopher and Nevis Police Force to curb and resolve criminal activity have failed. Speaking yesterday with SKN News Now, the former National Security Minister bolstered his stance with the released statistics.
There has been a dramatic failure in the ability of the police to decrease crime. And this is shown not only in St. Kitts but also in Nevis. Overall, therefore, a failure in St. Kitts and Nevis. The overall detection of and conviction of those who have been engaged in criminal activity, we see, for example, a 68% failure rate in 2016 and a 32% detection rate only in 2016 in St. Kitts. This also is not good. We have a situation from the statistics released by the police that 48% detection failure has been seen in Nevis in 2016 and a 52% detection rate in Nevis in 2016. Overall, there seems to be a failure in the Federation with regard to detection rate, a 35% detection rate and a 65% failure rate, that is, in the Federation in 2016.
Dr. Douglas continued that the crime statistics provide further evidence that there is a disconnect between the sentiments of the present Prime Minister of National Security, Prime Minister Dr. the Honorable Timothy Harris, and the reality of the situation in the Federation.
This tells me that maybe the dismantling of several initiatives that were in place may not have yielded results. It tells me also that there is something fundamentally wrong, because with the Prime Minister, Minister of National Security, saying daily, weekly, monthly, quarterly, that there is a tremendous improvement with regard to fighting crime in St. Kitts and Nevis, there is a disconnect with what the Prime Minister is saying and what the statistics are showing.
Dr. Douglas also noted that the extensive assistance provided to the police over the last 2 years appears to have had little to no impact on efforts to reduce or control crime.
We also find a situation where, despite all of the assistance that has been provided to the police, again, according to the Prime Minister and Minister of National Security, the assistance from Bramshill, the training, the equipment, the vehicles, the increased mobilization, the bringing in of the RSS, there seemed to be no serious impact that this has made in the criminal activity of St. Kitts and Nevis. And I personally believe that given the present state of mind of the Prime Minister, where he says that the buck stops with the police and not with him, it tells me very clearly that it is the politicization of the police force and the lack of a free hand being given to the police why we are seeing this serious continued threat to our safety and security here in St. Kitts and Nevis.
The Monetary Council of the Eastern Caribbean Central Bank, ECCB, the bank's highest decision-making body, will meet in St. Kitts tomorrow for its 87th meeting. Governor of the Eastern Caribbean Central Bank, Timothy Antoine, will deliver to the Council the report on monetary and credit conditions in the Eastern Caribbean Currency Union, or ECCU. The Council is also expected to deliberate on matters relating to financial stability and the growth and development of the ECCB member states, including the report from the Committee on Bank Fees and Charges, proposed amendments to the Banking Act, and the Eastern Caribbean Partial Credit Guarantee Corporation Agreement. Following the meeting, Chairman of the ECCB Monetary Council and Council Member for Antigua and Barbuda, Prime Minister Gaston Brown, will present the communique of the meeting, after which he and other members of the Council will field questions from members of the media. The ECCB Monetary Council is comprised of the Ministers of Finance from the 8 member governments: Anguilla, Antigua and Barbuda, the Commonwealth of Dominica, Grenada, Montserrat, St. Kitts and Nevis, St. Lucia, and St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Regionally, former Barbados Prime Minister has confirmed that he has been approached by Finance Minister Chris Snickler to serve as Chief Economic Advisor to the government.
On Monday, Sinclair announced that a Council of Economic Advisors made up of experienced Barbadians was being established, but he neither confirmed nor denied that Arthur was among the pending appointments. However, Arthur, a former finance minister who has been traveling the region for the past several months, giving advice on economic matters, tells Barbados Today he could hardly refuse his own country's appeal for help.
I could not possibly, therefore, be giving advice to other people and say no to a good and honest overture to me to give advice to the government of Barbados. So, yes, I can confirm that I have been approached by Mr. Sinclair. Yes, I can confirm that I told him that I would be willing to serve. I just want to say this now. Yesterday, having heard what Mr. Sinclair said, has raised a number of concerns to me. It won't stop me from serving, but there are a number of concerns. First of all, I'm now made aware from discussion with some of Mr. Sinclair's colleagues that while Mr. Sinclair has confirmed, has approached me, he has not approached his cabinet colleagues. And to have something like this work successfully and not be a botched job, Chris has to consult with his colleagues. And secondly, we have to be clear as to what a consultative group could possibly do at this time.
He, however, questioned government's delay in putting the consultative team together, stating that with the estimates of expenditure coming next week, time was of the essence.
Those estimates of expenditure embodies government financial policies and programs for the coming fiscal year. A consultative group that would be put in place now clearly would not be a consultative group to advise as to what is or should be done, but merely a group that could at best advise as to how to implement the policies in the estimates. Secondly, if Mr. Sinclair intends to have other policies pursued by way of what we call the budget, he will have then to come later in the year and present policies that may be at variance with what he will present in March, which could only possibly lead to further confusion.
In keeping with its continuing professional education mandate, the University of the West Indies Open Campus St. Lucia, for the very first time, is offering programs to persons who live in the south of the country. The program presently being offered is a certificate-level course in supervisory management. Previously, persons desirous of enrolling in programs at the UWI Open Campus would have had to make the long journey into Castries.
Program Officer Mrs. Eulampia Polio Springer spoke of the enthusiastic response of these persons who signed up for the course, noting that students came not only from Soufrière but also from Choiseul, and that all of them were delighted to be able to access a UWI continuing education course without the inconvenience of a long trek to Castries.
This is the first time that we're actually bringing one of our programs to the persons in Soufrière apart from an organization requesting it. So we are very happy that we are able to really work out our outreach to the different communities of St. Lucia, which is one of the mandates of the Open Campus. This is our supervisory management. It's a course geared towards middle managers and persons aspiring to become managers. So far, it has been very good. The whole community is enthusiastic about the program. We've got a very good response from the persons in the public, not only from persons in Soufrière, but persons as far as Choiseul and also Vieux-Fort.
Mrs. Polio Springer's words were echoed by Mr. Chris Dolor, whose assistance was invaluable in getting the course off the ground. Mr. Dolor spoke of the difficulty of getting transportation from Soufrière to Castries on evenings and of his delight that after several months of promoting the course on behalf of UWI, his persistence has yielded as many as 45 applicants.
I realize that all courses have been offered in Castries and not many persons can travel to Castries, have access to transportation, because with Soufrière, when it's 6 p.m., it's difficult to get a bus to Castries. So I decided to contact UWI, Ms. Veronica Simon. Then she emailed me back. Then she referred me to Mrs. Polius, who contacted me. And I told her why they should offer the course in Soufrière, because they need to decentralize, because every course is being offered in Castries. So this is why I decided to get in contact with UWI. Well, what I hope to come out from it, like persons from my community, Soufrière, can get this self-educated, because with the hospitality industry, they no longer accept experience, but they ask you for a certificate. That is what is needed right now. So experience doesn't really count. You must have your certificate to say, yes, you are a restaurant supervisor. And I'm very happy you decided to provide this course in Soufrière.
Course facilitator Mrs. Jenny Alcid James spoke about the importance of the course helping to enhance the supervisory skills of both those persons already in supervisory positions as well as those preparing to become supervisors.
It is very important because in any institution, whether it's a school, wherever you work, whether it's a business, whether it's a restaurant, whether you operate a garage, you will supervise persons. You will supervise as their direct employer. You will supervise, maybe this is just the position that you hold right now as, say, a front desk supervisor or a floor supervisor at a supermarket. But every single position, every single job in this country, every single place of employment has supervisors, and it is really important that persons have the correct skills, because it is a job that is very demanding. Persons may look down on it and say, okay, maybe you're not a manager yet and you're not in the C-suite as yet, but it is a job that allows you to really push the company forward, because you are like the link between the line staff and management.
Given the renewed emphasis of the open campus on both continuing education and continuing professional education courses, programs, in addition to its online diploma, degree and postgraduate offerings, efforts to further decentralize course offerings are expected to continue with an increasing range of CPE courses being offered island-wide.
On the international scene, President Donald Trump opened the door to a broad overhaul of the U.S. immigration system and vowed to pursue massive tax relief for the middle class in a speech to Congress on Tuesday. Political analysts say he is seeking to rebound from a chaotic start to his presidency.
U.S. President Donald Trump weighed in on health care, tax reform, and spending in a speech to Congress Tuesday. He speaks highly of what he has achieved so far on one of his biggest patriotic campaign promises.
Since my election, Ford, Fiat Chrysler, General Motors, Sprint, SoftBank, Lockheed, Intel, Walmart, and many others have announced that they will invest billions and billions of dollars in the United States and will create tens of thousands of new American jobs.
Trump endorsed putting tax credits in an Obamacare replacement plan, an idea opposed by many conservatives. However, tax credits are central to House Republican leadership's plan to help people afford insurance. Analysts say Trump's remarks could give that idea a crucial boost at a time when Republican division on healthcare law is growing. On tax reform, Trump promised a great tax relief for companies and the middle class, but didn't reveal his decision on the controversial trade tax proposal. The proposal is to impose a new tax on imports while exempting exports that is in line with Trump's decision to back off from NAFTA and TPP and to take on China. But a growing number of Republican senators have condemned the plan. Meanwhile, Trump also said he would push through a $1 trillion investment in infrastructure financed through both public and private capital. He's also seeking historic increase in defense spending. Overall, critics call Trump's budget plan bold and is unlikely to succeed to the extent Trump himself would like. But the speech at the Congress is a relief, according to many analysts. They say the mention of historic treaties and NATO specifically comes to U.S.'s global allies and is reassuring for those key international financial markets as well. They say the U.S. market will continue to bet their hopes on President Trump being a pro-business president, and that sentiment is likely to push U.S. stocks higher.
South Africa's President Jacob Zuma has reiterated that South Africans are not xenophobic. This is despite the continuing tensions between foreigners and locals that led to an outbreak of violence during last Friday's anti-immigration march. Zuma says South Africans have always peacefully coexisted with fellow Africans and will continue to do so.
Tensions have been simmering between foreign nationals and locals in some areas here in South Africa. Locals are blaming illegal immigrants for bringing social ills. Some blame foreign nationals for rampant crime in this country, especially illegal drug trade. They accuse them of also taking jobs that could otherwise be held by South Africans, but many are horrified with the recent attacks. 136 people were arrested after the violent outbreak at last Friday's anti-illegal immigrants march.
I believe the xenophobic attacks are uncalled for. These are brothers and sisters that one could think that they have housed us at some point during our desperation. We should know and learn how to live with them side by side. If there are problems, there's law enforcement that we could go to report whatever problems that are there.
This thing here, xenophobia, is very cruel and it's bad, especially for our country.
I think these people here, some of us are our friends, our brothers and all of this thing. But just because of the individuals who steals, rob, selling drugs, doing whatever, is then done. They just take, they say no, they say, they generalize now. They say no, all the foreigners are like that.
African people have a delay, so
most fellow Africans come here looking for jobs and a better livelihood. But many South Africans get angry because there's a small group that commits crime all the time, like drug dealing.
President Jacob Zuma is of a different view. Zuma says foreign nationals are part of this country's fabric.
This narrative that South Africans are xenophobic, we don't necessarily agree with it. We have been staying here with the foreigners centuries ago. Some have come here and settled here. There are no attacks that are always made. The point I was making the other day was that if you observe, you'll realize that we don't have refugee camps in South Africa. Foreigners stay with us. They are not separated or segregated. Now, if we're anti-foreigners, that would not be the case.
Zuma says there's a certain negative storyline that is often perpetuated when it comes to black Africans.
Generally, there is a narrative that is always attached to us as Africans or as blacks. When other people demonstrate they are not welcoming the foreigners, they are not said they are xenophobic. As you know, there is an ongoing problem in Europe wherein the refugees that are coming, countries say they cannot come in, they don't want them. But nobody says they're xenophobic. It is just like if there is something wrong with the Africans, is corruption. If it is done by not by us, it's collusion.
Former President Thabo Mbeki has condemned the violence, saying attacking foreigners will not solve the country's problems.
And now we take a look at sport. Pele once famously predicted an African country would win the World Cup before the year 2000. The Brazilian football legend may have gotten that forecast wrong, but young players from the continent are excelling. Converting junior success into something similar at a senior level is one of the big challenges now facing African football. Andy Richardson reports.
This Cup of Nations is about much more than regional rivalry. It will also decide which African teams go to the Under-20 World Cup. And history would suggest Zambian fans are getting an early look at many of the players who'll stand out at that tournament. When it comes to age group football, Africa has few equals. In Zambia's capital, Lusaka, young players train in the hope they too can one day make it to the highest level.
They know that some of these players that we are watching today, playing high-profile football, be it, from Ghana, Nigeria, they are coming from poor backgrounds. Even here in Zambia, we have players that came from very, very poor backgrounds, and today they are playing good football.
At under-17 level, Africa is the dominant global force. Nigeria alone have won 3 of the last 5 World Cup finals. And there's been big success at under-20 level. Ghana won the world title in 2009, and in 2015, Mali and Senegal reached the semi-finals. But at senior level, no African team has ever got beyond the quarter-finals at a World Cup. Former Zambian international Tennant Chilumba played his club football in Africa, Asia and Europe. He says the problems for national sides can start when the players leave their hometown teams and get used to different training cultures.
When you are coaching the junior team, all the players that are from the local league, you can monitor them, you can look at their performance, you can assemble a good team. Unlike in the senior team, you only coach the player when he joined the team maybe for 3 days. So it's quite difficult.
Many seasoned African football observers believe attitudes can also change as a player's career progresses abroad.
Under 17 and under 20 level, the players are looking to make a name for themselves. They are wearing the shade of their nations with a lot of pride because they are not big stars yet. But when they begin getting these big monies, they are in Spain, they are in England, they are in Italy, it changes the trajectory of how they respond to call-ups to the national team and eventually even how they perform when they're with the national teams.
The players competing at this Cup of Nations, the latest generation, with the chance to prove this is the beginning and not the peak of their national endeavours.
And that item brings us to the end of the KyssFM SKN News Now Morning Edition, brought to you with the kind compliments of Glenbarrow's Pest Control and Guest House. Join us again at 5:45 for our comprehensive evening news package. I am Leslie Joseph.
Glen Barrows International Pest Control provides a comprehensive approach for a pest-free environment for both residential and commercial clients. Our services include lawn spraying and fungus control services to ensure the safety of your family and pets, commercial pest and rodent control, pre-construction soil treatment, subterranean termite control, and tent fumigation. Call Glen Barrows International Pest Control at 465-2935 or 469-5294. Glen Barrows International Pest Control, setting new standards in pest control.